What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to the Baird podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a new chapter. Roll the intro. So, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking a little bit about a new chapter and my current large amount of spare time. I finished all my exams Monday, and I've been kind of relaxing and not really doing a whole lot. And it's almost like I hit a reset button because before exams and like the last month, like the space between Christmas and exams, I was kind of just stressed out and I didn't really feel like myself. I wasn't doing super well, was kind of sick and not necessarily eating all that great. But this week has almost been kind of a reset button. I've gotten a lot more sleep, relaxed a bit, and got some good news about my shoulder. I don't know if I brought it up on the podcast before. One of my shoulders somehow ended up injured. So, well, first of all, kind of have to understand the way your shoulder works. When you raise your arm above your head, the joint in your shoulder itself that rotates up only does about half the work. Your shoulder blade rotating actually does the other half. And for one reason or another, my right shoulder blade, wasn't rotating like it should, therefore making the joint do more of the work. And it was actually pinching muscle between bone. And of course that got super inflamed and painful to the point where it hurt to move my arm at all, which is a problem. I'm right-handed. So I started going to physio, and they gave me some exercises, some stretches, like a TheraBand to work with a bit. And yeah, as of my last physio appointment, I don't have to go back. My shoulder's stronger than it was before, and it is no longer painful. So yeah, that's pretty happy about that. And in the last podcast, I mentioned that I'm going on a trip in February to Ottawa with the Encounters with Canada program. And I didn't really have a whole lot of information on it at that point. There are, 14 different themes. And they are arts and cultures, business and entrepreneurship, Canada Remembers, Democracy and Youth, Experience Canada, First Responders, Global Affairs, History and Leadership, formerly VIMI, that's what it says, Law and Our Justice System, Media and Communications, Medicine and Health, Science and Ecology, Science and Technology, Sports and Fitness, and Sustainable Agriculture, formerly Tech and Food. The week that I chose to do was the Science and Tech week. It looks like there are going to be some computer science elements, obviously, because it's science and tech. And that's right up my alley. I was kind of stuck between that and media and communications, but the media and communications one seemed like more stuff I kind of already knew how to do. And science and technology seemed like a blank slate and fresh starting point, which would be kind of cool. If you're interested in checking out this program, I'll leave a link in my description, as well as you can inquire about it through your high school. It's pretty exciting, actually. Today's the first day where I've been able to try out the new microphone when my voice hasn't been almost gone, so you won't have to hear my gross voice. And I think I'll probably record a new intro for Thing of the Week. So Past Me said there was going to be a new intro for Thing of the Week. Joke's on Past Me, I didn't actually make a new one in time to record this podcast, so we will keep working on that, and I'll put it on my list of things to do. But in the meantime, today's Thing of the Week. I used to read a lot, and I hadn't been reading for a bit. At one point, I kind of got into ebooks, but then I didn't really like the fact that you have to charge a book before you read it. I'm not a huge fan of that. But I recently started reading the Maze Runner series again. I'd started reading this series in the summer between grade, I think think 8 and 9. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I don't know if that's because it's almost like a dystopic future, or the fact that it's a dystopic future where humanity kind of turns on kids and the kids are fighting back. I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but there are 6 books in this series. There are The Maze Runner, The Scorched Trials, The Death Cure, The Kill Order, The Maze Runner Files, and The Fever Code. And I'm currently on The Scorched Trials, but just a really, really good book. And I think there were plans for movies for all of them, but there was some sort of accident or something with the movies. I'll find that here in a second. Pretty bad. It just shows how unprepared I am for this episode. Okay, so it shows here that Dylan O'Brien, one of the main characters in the movie, was filming Scorched Trials, and he was pulled from a vehicle after a stunt that didn't go very well and was actually hit by another vehicle. And this left him with some brain trauma and a fracture. It doesn't say where. I'm not sure how accurate this is, but he was severely hurt. He ended up coming back and finishing the movies, though, which is pretty good. I'll have to catch the other. I've only ever seen the first one, I believe, but not as good as the book, but still really, really good. All of that just to say, the Maze Runner series is my thing of the week. So what I'm about to say kind of speaks to how I'm a generally distracted person. But as I was recording this episode, I have my texts open on my phone for one of my friends, and he asked what I'm up to right now, and I said I'm recording a podcast. And I said that I'm also kind of thinking about like planning other podcasts as I'm talking. And he says, "Oh, you getting some saucy ideas?" Which sounds like kind of a weird thing to say. But I was like, saucy ideas. And my first thought was Hot Ones by First We Feast, I believe, and The Hot Seat with Pete. And the thing that those two shows have in common is they're terrible wings. Like, they're the cheapest takeout wings you can find, and they're cold. And they just put ridiculous amounts of hot sauce on them so that it basically puts their guests through horrible amounts of pain. I like spicy food, but not to the point where I'm crying and sweating. So then I thought, what if we were to do a Hot Ones spin-off on the podcast, but instead of being Hot Ones, it's just eating chicken wings with people and having a conversation. Because Hot Ones, they're interviewing the people and feeding them spicy food. But what if you just feed them, like, good food? Hear me out. I ask the guest what their favorite food is and cook some, have it hot, set down a meal in front of them and have them eat, and we can talk for a podcast. I don't know. Might be a dumb idea. I just thought it'd be kind of cool. Let me know what you think over at Dylan Baird Media on Instagram. Shameless self-promotion. And that pretty much... Oh, no, it does not wrap up today's episode. Today is the National Get Up Day. Today is apparently a day for sharing stories of when we've been knocked down as people and gotten back up. And I've actually a pretty good story about this. I didn't get knocked down. It was a bike crash. I ended up with stitches. I guess that's kind of a story for another episode. Let me know if you want to hear about that in the comments. But hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dylan Baird, wishing you a happy and healthy week.